Sometimes your coaches can really touch you so hard, they'll just change your life. And I think nothing has changed my life more than working with coaches. So if you ever have been on the fence, you're skeptical, just try one coach and do a 90-day container. And if you like it, keep going. If you don't like it, switch and drop your expectations. Don't expect every coach to hit every aspect of your life. Some people just do culture in your practice and not the business side of things. So figure out what you want and keep going. Well, hello there, beautiful friends of the universe. Welcome back to University of Why podcast that is truly a reflection of you and where we ask the big questions to go deeper in life and to create a life that aligns with who we truly are. I'm your host, Dr. Sonia Chopra, and today I want to carry on the conversation about leadership. I think leadership is such an important part of one's character that you need to work on in life. And I want to express my gratitude today for all the people who have helped me learn how to lead. So this episode is dedicated to all of my coaches out there. In the past 9 years, I've had about 10 coaches. And today's episode is a tribute to all of my coaches. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You all have been such an amazing, just thank you for being my mirrors. Thank you for being a reflection to me. Thank you for all that you made me see in me, for making me understand my blind spots, for making me really come to this point in my life. Without my coaches, I never would have been here. And now I have only one regret, is that I didn't start working with coaches sooner. So I know that people have a lot of mixed feelings about coaches. And so think about what your feelings are about coaches right now. Kind of tune into yourself. What are your beliefs about coaches? Some people just don't feel like they work. Some people don't value them. Some people expect coaches to be like a jack of all trades. And I'm going to say that there are so many different types of coaches. There are relationship coaches, there are business coaches, there are mindset coaches, there are branding coaches, there's style coaches. There's so many different types of coaches. And I love that. I love that because there's so many different aspects of yourself that you can really further develop. And I don't want a coach that's going to be a jack of all trades. I want a very niche coach that is going to really optimize and up-level a certain aspect of who I am. And so I think in the beginning, when I was first thinking about coaches, I didn't believe that they were valuable if they didn't help me with every aspect of my life. And I think that's a little unfair. If that's where you're sitting or where you feel like your belief system is when it comes to coaches, check in with that, because I'm going to go through all of the different coaches that I've had over the last 9 years. My one regret is not starting with a coach sooner. I started with a coach 8 years into my career. And had I done it a lot sooner, I think I would have been a lot more successful a lot sooner. So I had the mindset that I can do this by myself. I don't need help, but I want to give permission to everyone today to ask for help, because asking for help is probably the fastest way of getting unstuck. You really don't have to figure all of this out on your own. In fact, trying to do this all on your own is the fastest way to staying stuck and not growing. So I give everybody listening today full permission to ask for help and ask for a coach. I have made it my commitment since probably 2019 that contribution is a big part of my value system. So I will donate money every year, right? Or donate services every year. But I will also take 10% of what I earn and I will reinvest it in myself. And I do that in the form of coaches or masterminds or something like that. So I love being in community with somebody. I love mentorship because I don't know it all. And I will be the first one to admit that. And I am so happy that I can come from a place of being okay with saying that. That being said, I want to walk you through my coach's journey. I think it's been a cool ride. And I can't wait to continue to work with coaches. And now I think I might do some multiple coaches to get multiple aspects of my life being optimized at the same time. So in 2016, like I've said on previous episodes, that was my burnout year. And in 2017 was my wake up call. And I decided to invest in my first coach. In fact, I was a practice coach. So I'm a dentist. And I had a very successful practice on the outside. It was growing, revenue was building. Most people would be like, nope, that's great for me. I don't need any help. My business is thriving. For me, it wasn't just about the money. I really wanted to fix the culture in my practice. I had a good practice, but I would say that the culture wasn't great. That was the first thing that I knew that I wanted to change. So in 2017, to about 2021, I worked with a coach. Her name is Reagan Hartman, and I'm so excited. She just said that she's happy to be a guest on this show. So we're going to dive deep with her on an upcoming episode pretty soon. But she was my very first coach. And she started out as my husband's coach for his dental practice. And then he said, hey, I think you would benefit from working with her. I signed up with her. I wasn't sure what I was going to get. I kind of had all the normal feelings that most people have with their coach. We're kind of cautious, we're pessimistic, we're like not sure if it's going to work. And relatively quickly, she kind of showed me that I needed her. What I noticed in my practice is that there was a lot of drama. So if you have a lot of drama in your practice, you are definitely going to want a coach. Because for me, something in our form of communication was off. And I needed to learn how to communicate with my team. I needed my team to communicate with each other. I needed to set healthy boundaries. So, one of the things I really commend her with is really opening my eyes to understanding what I needed, what set me off, what made my nervous system tick. At the time, I didn't know that it was my nervous system really on steroids. At the time, I just felt like I was just stressed. One of the first things that I uncovered when I worked with her is that I had a really hard time being a clinician and a manager at the same time. What I do is really difficult. It needs focus. I'm a root canal specialist. When I'm doing a root canal, I am super focused and I don't want to distract that focus for any reason. And so if somebody comes to me and asks me, oh, where should I put this emergency patient today on the schedule? Or, hey, there's a patient upset about their bill. Like those are things that I don't want to be interrupted for because I'm hyper focused on this individual. I want to care with them with all my heart and soul. I realized I never said that to my team. So she helped me uncover some of the things that made me realize like why I would lash out, why I would get upset with my team, what made me triggered, what would stress me out. And so I started to learn what my healthy boundaries needed to be. And once I told my team, like, hey, I don't love being a clinician and a manager. I don't love wearing those two hats at the same time. All of a sudden, things started to kind of get a little bit more easy with me. She also taught our team to communicate way better. And although this was like a very awkward exercise, it's totally worth it. So, the first thing in any upset, she would make us do what we call a reality check. And a reality check is like, okay, talk about with yourself the upset. Like, what made you upset? And she would say, what are you making this mean? I would say this, this, and this. So if I said three things that pissed me off, she would say, okay, well, what else could it mean? So she would try to take me out of my perspective and shift it and say, okay, let's look at it from somebody else's perspective. And she would say something like, well, do you think it was actually done, but maybe they didn't want to bother you at that time of day and they were going to tell you? I'm like, I guess that's possible, right? So she would make me see it in a different way. And then she would make me see it in a different way. If I shouted out three things that pissed me off, she would make me do 3 + 2. So n+2. I would have to find five ways that it could be something else. And when you do that, it kind of takes your upset from a 10 to a 5. So that when you go to approach the person, then has you do what we call a quality request. And it's in this like really awkward format, which is actually kind of nice that it's awkward because that awkwardness kind of shows you're coming from a loving intention. But I'm going into that conversation now, not at a level 10 anger, but at a level 5 anger. And this took a lot of work. It probably took a few years before I could really make this a habit. And it's still, I don't know if it's really a habit, but I'll just take the paper down that kind of goes over the format and I'll follow the format and it'll be really weird and I'll just read it. And then I will have the conversation with that team member. And I'll use this with my husband. I'll sometimes use this with my friends. And it really helps cultivate better relationships through better communication. So she really came into my office helping me understand my personal boundaries. How can I share that with others? How can I make them respect those boundaries? How can everybody have those boundaries? And how can we communicate with each other as a really loving team and understand that we have also have a perception and that perception may not be the whole truth. And so this is really the foundation of our culture that we started to create. And then all of a sudden, my practice went into this like golden era. So from 2018 to 2023, my business grew like crazy. In fact, from 2018 to 2019, the business grew by $1 million. And I really believe that it's because of how much we worked on our culture. That was coach number one. And when I say like you do not have to figure this stuff out on your own, I really mean it because you are going to get stuck if you try to do that. But the moment somebody comes in and finds your blind spots and helps show those to you and really makes you kind of come face to face with your shadows and really learn to love your shadows and understand why you have those, the whole journey starts to kind of get easier and fall into place. She really, really helped with that. In fact, we stopped working with her in 2021 and now we're kind of seeing some of our old patterns come back. And I'm like, we need Reagan back. So I'm hoping we get an opportunity to have her back at least maybe twice a year or maybe quarterly, just to have that backbone kind of re-supported a little bit. So she was my first coach. Great recommendation by my husband. I thank him for that. And so if you are struggling in your practice, or again, she was a great marriage coach to me. So we not only created team agreements in my practice, but I also created marriage agreements with my husband with her. Like, hey, we can't go to bed angry. It is a marriage agreement. We stick to it. These types of things really help no matter what relationship you're trying to work on. So from 2017 to 2021, she was my biggest coach and I am in so much gratitude of her. And we're going to be talking to her on an episode coming up pretty soon. Another coach that I had between like 2017 and 2019, I had two other kind of like, well, not as high level of a coach, but they were definitely mentors to me. So Anissa Holmes is a big one for me. I went through some of her programs. She teaches the EOS system, so Entrepreneurial Operating System. I had already read the book Traction before I worked with her, and so I was very familiar with her system. But if you just want to use the book Traction, it is a great book. I think every small business in the world should read it because it will help you run your practice like a business and it will just give you clarity and help you understand your numbers and all that good stuff and your KPIs, all that good stuff. So I learned how to run my practice like a business through Dr. Anissa Holmes. But it was kind of like group coaching. So there was a community involved. I learned from the community as well. And again, that really helped structure my team. And then I did a little bit with Spear Education. Imtiaz Manji was a pretty big influence on me at the time. He was with Spear. He's no longer with Spear. But he kind of was like, he wanted to drive practice growth in numbers, a very masculine way of doing things. And his whole thing was like, how do you do one more? Maybe it's one more consult, maybe it's one more treatment. Because if you do push for that one more, you can increase your revenue by 150K or 300K annually. And that can be a big shift. And maybe that big shift is what allows you to hire more team members to take things off your plate, or maybe advance your technology in your workplace or whatever. And it'll allow you to make investments that will then hopefully help you grow and hopefully bring you more ease. Now, one thing I noticed with him was that there was like a little bit of a hustle culture. And I saw that coming in with a lot of other coaches. It's like, do more, do more, do more. And I will say, pre-COVID, that was my philosophy, was hustle, hustle, hustle. How can I do more procedures? How can I add more of this and that? And that worked for me, and I'm actually very grateful for all that. But I think when it was COVID time, I really learned how I wanted to work. And it wasn't as hard. But what happened through this process of kind of pushing, I saw pockets of areas where I could optimize. And so that allowed me to get the one more without too much hustle. I empowered my team because I was communicating so much better. Now I empowered my team. And I couldn't learn this stuff on my own. But now my team was taking things off my plate. That opened up space for me to do more. And then everything just continued to grow until 2023. But again, there was just this like push, push, push kind of mindset with some of my coaches. And while that was good, and while now I push myself so much that when I want to back up and I want to take my foot off the gas, my ease day is probably somebody else's hustle. So I definitely learned a lot from it, but I don't think it's sustainable. And so now COVID was like this hump, right? And during COVID, a lot of things happened. People lost their job. And so they lost their dental insurance or they got furloughed, right? And so we didn't know who had coverage and who didn't. And so we were like, okay, well, let's just start practicing as if we were fee for service, not contracted with any insurances. And we realized we really liked that whole workflow. And so we're like, okay, well, that's a new goal to have. And we started to implement new ways of living. And that's kind of like I would be in masterminds. I would take a lot of insight from people who coach general dentists, but then I would extrapolate that for the specialist. And then I would apply it to my endodontic practice, my specialty practice. So I know some of you are listening, you're not dentists, and I'm not trying to be too crazy lingo-y here, but I'm just trying to connect you with how all of these coaches played a part in my journey and my career growth. But at a certain time, like career growth is only so much that you want to do. Then there's also my marriage. There's also motherhood. There's also all of these aspects of me that I wanted to bring forward. And so I'm like, okay, well, now my practice is running more smoothly. Now I do have all this extra space to do other things. So now I'm like, okay, I want to do this thing. I really want to teach people. I want to teach dentists how to do better root canals. I want to launch this brand. And so I got a branding coach. So my first few coaches were business coaches, and then I got a branding coach. And in 2019, I worked with this fabulous woman. Her name is Jessica Zweig, and she helped me unlock my personal brand, what made me unique. I'm not just a board certified endodontist. I'm also a female entrepreneur. I'm also a mother of three, and I'm also a very spiritual being. And so she pulled these four things about me out of me to create what she calls this hologram. And that is now the place that I speak from, is that hologram. And so really understanding my own personal brand had to be coached out of me. And so now this is where I started to see the shift in me. This is where I started to finally teeter from that constant push, that constant drive, that constant masculine. My default is falling back into my masculine. But since then, I've been trying to push into a different type of frequency, a different type of vibration, more of the feminine side. That part that I forgot as I was growing, doing, I had forgotten about this other side of me. And so one day I had this crazy idea. I want to do a TED Talk. And I never thought that I would land a TED stage. I never thought anyone wanted to hear my idea, but I had been so motivated to do this because I had seen so many people just not understand how to heal their mouth when they got an infection. There's so many crazy beliefs out there. And I was like, I really believe that if people heard this in a different way, they would really be interested. And so I started working with a TED coach because I wanted to give a TED Talk. And I worked with this beautiful woman, Trisha Brook, and I have to credit this woman for really making me connect with my worth. She is one brilliant human. And had I not met her, I don't think I would have ever understood my worth the way I do now. And when you understand your worth, you show up different, you heal others different, you charge different. And then people just understand you differently because you really embody who you are. And so, Trisha, if you're listening, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone. Reagan, Anissa, Imtiaz, Jessica, Trisha, you've been amazing mentors to me. And without all of you, I would not be here on this microphone right now. I would not feel worthy enough to speak out into the universe. So thank you. And there's more coaches coming along. But Trisha was very special. She really extracted my ideas and she made me get it out into the world. She made me tell the world just how important it is to save your teeth, just how important it is to understand that root canals aren't toxic. She pulled that out of me in a way. And so I invite all of you to watch that TED Talk. Again, I'll link it in the show notes. But she got me published in Forbes. She got me published in Thrive Global. And then she finally helped me land a TED stage. And it was such a wild journey with her because once I landed the stage, I had 6 weeks to really refine my talk. Typically, a TED Talk is 18 minutes, but ours had to be condensed into like 13 minutes. So in 6 weeks, I had to condense it, still make sure it had a punch and it landed with impact. But then I had to memorize it because there's no teleprompter. This is all live and you have to nail it. And so I would fly up on Saturday night, crash at a friend's house to New York City because she used to run Lincoln Center stage, the TED Lincoln. So I would go up to New York City. I would sleep there on Saturday night. I would rehearse with her from like 10 to 3 and I would fly back Sunday and then go back to work on Monday. It was like training for the Olympics. And I would fly up there and we would have 5 hours of intensive trainings on how to public speak. So she wasn't just like a worthiness coach. She was also a public speaking coach. And after I gave a TED Talk, I felt like I could conquer anything. She reflected such beauty back to me that, man, the whole process of working with her was really unique. And I remember going up there, she would make me say my TED Talk. She would make me do it in an Indian accent, which was hilarious. She would make me like do it while I was taking out the dishes and doing a chore because she was making me memorize it. She would make me do it on a walk. Like, so my neighborhood thought I was crazy talking to myself as I was walking around the neighborhood. She was a really hard coach, but she was also so in tuned with pulling things out of me and making that valuable enough to be on a Red Circle or a Forbes contribution or whatever. Like, she was just really good. And I remember the final training with her in New York, she read me this beautiful poem called Phenomenal Woman. And so sometimes your coaches can really touch you so hard, they'll just change your life. And I think nothing has changed my life more than working with coaches. So if you are ever have been on the fence, you're skeptical, just try one coach and give them 90 days. Don't even do a long container with them. Do a 90-day container. And if you like it, keep going. If you don't like it, switch and drop your expectations. Don't expect every coach to hit every aspect of your life. Some people just do culture in your practice and not the business side of things. Some people do lovemaking and not the relationship side of things, right? So figure out what you want and keep going. So I worked with Trisha Brook in 2021, did my TED in October of 2021, and then I continued my coaching journey in 2023 with Gina. I now will always have a coach. I am never coachless. Even coaches need coaches. I suggest work with a coach. Maybe it's just a fitness coach, right? But then Gina Murata came into my life and she is a feminine genius coach. Probably have never heard of that one, right? But she's a career coach. She's a lawyer turned career coach for women. And she helps get women out of their masculine and into their feminine genius. And when you're in your feminine genius, you choose a career in which you are in flow, in which you don't feel like it's work. And again, she extracts this out of you. She finds what comes naturally to you. What are you innately born to do? And from there, you become aligned and find your career path. I think one of the biggest things that shifted for me when I was working with Gina, I feel bad for Gina because she got a very emotional side of me that she had to deal with. I probably cried the most with Gina. I think that was transitioning from a masculine to a feminine energy. And she got me through that transition period. And she opened my eyes to a better way to live. I never knew that this was possible. I never knew that this vibration was even there. She changed my vocabulary. I think one of my favorite words now is allow. It's never should. She would always say, "Oh, you said should." And she listens to the words you use and she'll connect with that and be like, "Nope, that's not an alignment." And then so I actually want to go back to her because I feel like I've learned so much even after her, but I worked with her for probably a year. I even worked with a stylist coach because I couldn't dress myself, believe it or not. Like I would go shopping and I would come home and I would do a fashion show for my husband and he would be like, "Why did you buy that?" And then I would have to spend another 8 hours just returning the stuff, so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna invest in a style coach." So I invested in this woman, Tali Kogan. We'll probably speak to her too. Hopefully, we'll speak to Gina, maybe even Anissa and Jessica. I'm hoping everybody will be on the show. But Tali makes you feel like a queen, dress like a queen. And now all of a sudden, like I don't spend energy on my outfits. I speak a lot. I travel a lot to speak. So now packing is easy. Um, knowing what I want to wear, but also how I feel in what I wear makes such a difference. And so all of these coaches are like so niche, so different, and they've all had some form of impact on me and how I show up in the world. After Gina, well, I worked with Jessica again. I also worked with a lady named Tish. We'll come into her sooner than later, but Tish was a more spiritual coach for me. And now I'm currently working with a woman named Lauren, and she's also a spiritual coach. I think actually she goes by Freedom Coaching, and she has been life-changing for me. And it's been interesting. I've been working with her all year, and this has been my most reflective year. It's been my most inward year. I haven't really been out on social media. I haven't been doing as many speaking gigs this year. It's been an interesting year because I moved after 17 years and I've just been purging. And I've been purging all this old shit, whether it's my triggers, whether it's my junk, old clothes, old versions of myself, and just kind of cutting these cords to this old version. I've literally filled up 4 dumpsters and I probably can fill up a 5th, but it's been such a yin year, such an inward year, and I'm just prepping for 2026. It's going to be fun. I'm just on the surface of working with this woman, Lauren, and I think she's going to be the secret sauce. So there'll be more from her too, I hope, and more on my experience and my journey with her. But all of my coaches, again, I just want to pay tribute to all of them today. They have been the things that have changed my life the most drastically and in the most beautiful way. So if you're listening to this and you are wondering if you should hire a coach, let me say this. You don't need a coach because you're broken. You need a coach to help you see what's already there, to get rid of your blind spots, to help you evolve and expand. Whether you want a coach in your marriage, in your career, in your mindset, in your mission, you deserve support. And you deserve to do this alongside of a mentor who loves you. You do not have to do any of this alone. Find somebody who sees you. Invest in yourself. And it's okay if you didn't find that person that connected with you just right. You'll learn something from that too. But find somebody who really sees you. Find somebody who challenges you. And find somebody who helps you create the vision of what you know deep down is possible. Your next level is on the other side of being witnessed. Thank you again, friends, for being here today. If you like this episode, I would love it if you shared it with a friend. I would love it if you subscribed to the show, leave a review, and just share this episode with a friend that you think could resonate with the message today. Thanks again, y'all, and I will see you in the next episode.